Some people are adding even Monday to their weekends, but then what do? I know with time things are going to take good shape. Welcome. My name is Sijama. We have lined up beautiful programs for your viewing pleasure today. You just watched early morning news, and thereafter we're going to bring you a press review. That's discussion today based on what is trending, or which is the 160 million naira worth of vehicles that the lawmakers are gearing up for. All these and many more are the programs we have selected for your viewing pleasure this morning. We'll also bring you sports anyway. For now, do stand by for press review. Okay, Janime, this morning for press review is Samuel Ololo. Samuel Ololo is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. Good morning, Diana and Bra. Daluno, Makai Soranyi for this week, and then Happy New Week to all of us.
Okay, good to have you. All right, as usual, we're going to begin from our website this morning to bring you the stories that are trending there. The first one says, APGA rally, Anambra Deputy Governor reassures of more projects across states. And then work advances on Ozomagana Street Road project. Ozomagana is in Onitsha anyway. And then Anambra Fire Service urges residents, fire chief urges residents to clear grasses in surroundings to prevent fire. Yes, as we are getting up to the dry season, of course, we have started seeing the effects here and there. It does appear Hamilton is somewhere along the way. So there are so many things that we need to do to make sure that we keep our environment fit to avoid fire outbreak. Okay, there was a rally this weekend, last weekend, Sam, about Soludo projects across the straits. Were you part of the rally?
No, I was not.
Okay.
And I got to know about it, of course, through the media, social media, where it was being showcased. I think what the governor is merely doing, and his supporters, they are trying to showcase to Anambra, to Nigerians, and to the world the developmental strides of the governor, who, by the way, is working. And looking at the road infrastructure that the governor has embarked on, we can see significant signs of both drainage that are being dug, that are being made. We can see the laterals being leveled on the road. And one thing, it's surprising that this is going on even as we are still in rainy season. So I want to imagine how it would be when we enter dry season fully. And that is now taking me down to what the fire service chief is advising. Every year, we should not be having fire incidents owing to ignorance of the citizens. Of course, we know that Harmattan comes with its own challenges. The environment becomes dry, any little ignite of fire causes a lot. So as citizens, we just must really have to be on the watch. And in as much as we have said this, it's also calling on the fire service chief and his team to always be battle ready, because it's one thing to warn the citizens, it's another thing for the citizens to adhere to it. And we wouldn't want the fire service to be caught lagging behind.
Of the deputy governor reassuring the Anambra of more projects across the states. With this work advances on Ozomagana Street, Onitsha. Ozomagana, like I said, is in Onitsha. And I think I witnessed the work that is going on there, reconstruction of roads, which is, of course, is springing up in a whole lot of places in Onitsha. I've seen that of the Savoy Junction, And then around the Renoyo, Egisin filling stations all along that Orca Road. But there are still these other pockets of places that are still giving us challenges in Onitsha. Places like the Mr. Biggs Junction, that's Bombano Junction if you are going to the main market. And then the other side of the road, that's New Market Road if you are coming up. There are still some challenges down that road. And then the one that is still giving us sleepless nights is the one at Ogidi near, what do you call it, Iyenu Mission Hospital. That place is a no-go area, is really doing a very bad service to the underneath of our cars, okay? And some other places, but these are there are another place before Mpo Junction, if you are coming from Onitsha, I think St. Anthony Padua area, that place. Well, I know these things are gradual from one point to another. With time, we'll get everywhere straightened out. Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. Okay, let's venture into the papers now to bring you what is trending too. Our first paper this morning is the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun newspaper concerns over economic rise. CBN goes after airing banks. And then it has some writers that say, that's Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, OPS, others lament rise in inflation and then affects scarcity. It's a very big issue now that sometimes it does appear we'll just leave it and then let things keep rolling like that. Other stories coming from here, Nigeria crawling but determined to change narrative. This is coming from Tinubu, and let's see if we can still have some pockets of stories. The federal government moves to facilitate speedy delivery of attack helicopters to NAV, IPOB to federal government, remove terrorism tag on us. Okay? Tinubu won battle, but must work hard to win war. This is coming from mascot Uzo Carlo. Federal government labor meet over fuel subsidy. Unions vow to shun any parley with Lalong. Okay, court bars NLC from going on strike, protesting in Imo. The president, Carlo ACF, others mourn as Ohinoi of Ibiraland dies at 95. NDLEA naps Hong Kong, France-bound businessman at Abuja Airport. All these are the stories making the round from the Daily Sun newspaper. Let's look at the Daily Times. Showdown looms as NLC Uzodinma lock horns Wednesday. With some riders there who hold him responsible if anything happens. Government uses fierce coercion on state labor leaders. It says, blatant lie, labor, governor, close, Uzodinma's spokesman. And then NLC wants federal government to stabilize Naira, or whatever they mean by that. Okay, down here, some judgments. Confusion grieves Oyo over conflicting verdicts from same judge. You're going to see more of this confusion in the coming days. State government was set to hand Oloye staff of office, and then appeal courts may settle matter. Legal team assembled. Okay, APC stalwarts once weakest critics. And then Nigeria sick because lawbreakers treated with kid gloves. Olu of worry. Nigeria sick because lawbreakers are treated with kid gloves. Okay, do we have another story coming from here? PDP national woman leader dead. Party mourns. Very unfortunate. Punch newspaper. Forest crisis. Labour blends government officials meet federal government today. Politicians test for foreign goods pushing Nigeria to disaster. NLC is saying this. And then Labour threatens to boycott talks with governments if Minister attends. A lot of confusion here and there. German Chancellor Visit Tinubu gives ECOWAS 81 or 8 million pounds for security and others. Okay, and tomorrow we'll still move out to borrow. A Daily Independent, fresh CBN forest markets push on settled speculators and banks. And down here, Nigeria crawling, but we are changing the narratives. Tinubu tells German Chancellor. Although we have other stories coming from here. Akpabio Kalu lead delegation to brief Tinubu on IPU assembly outcome. Tinubu Abbas Ganduje Mon Ohinoyi of Ibiraland. We've seen that story. Okay. Well, let's see what we can get from these stories before we push. Going back to where we started, Daily Sun. Concerns over economic rise, CBN goes after airing banks. Sam.
It's no new news for us concerning the state of the country, which did not actually start now. It has been a recurrent event when we look at what has been going on in the country and as regards economy. The economy of the country has not really been fair to the citizens. No thanks to those who have managed it, both the executive and then the central bank management team. And it calls for serious concern, really, because we are in a country where the politicians who are representing the people will always ask the people to wear that austerity measure clothes, but they live an ostentatious life. When you see them, they live a life of affluence. You've not even seen any sign that the country is bleeding. All what they do, even when they try to borrow, they borrow money and still use it to spend on themselves. It is ridiculous. And what this is actually causing is gradually making the country head to doom. When we talk about the currency, of course, the free fall of the naira, it is at its lowest low since the existence of the country. I could remember growing up when they talked about the SAP, that's Social Adjustment Program, of the then president, head of state, IBB. People had it difficult, people had it tough. And despite that, the currency did not fall as it is, at the state that it is. And a lot of pundits, a lot of experts and analysts have actually advised that we should be careful, very, very careful, or else we degenerate to the Zimbabwe, to how Zimbabwe is currently as a country. Zimbabwe is a country where their currency have no value, and you see somebody who has money and they can barely get anything meaningful when they go to the market. And we don't want Nigeria to get to that stage. And that is why we are really calling on all stakeholders to rally round and ensure that they give power and strength to the naira. And for this to be achieved, really, we need to, one of the presidential candidates in the last concluded election was, he had the mandate to push Nigeria from consumption to production. And when we look at the level of production of Nigerians, you would ask, what are we doing? Recently, the CBN lifted, I think, close to 43 or 48 items that have been on ban from being imported into the country for close to 7 years. That's during the first term of the then former President Buhari's administration. Surprisingly, part of the items currently that the ban was lifted on is even as little as toothpick. And we're asking ourselves, if the ban on a lot of commodities will be lifted so that the economy can be revived, even toothpick. So they're also lifting the ban on toothpick. Does it mean that we cannot produce toothpick? That is one. And Southeast used to be revered as a palm oil producing region, and that was part of what we used to even grow the country. That was what was used to develop the oil industry. And today, we are still importing palm oil. Nigeria is a country where we are into a lot of, we have the raw materials of a lot of products, but we can barely boast of producing these things. When you look at palm oil, we import palm oil, but we are very, very good. We have palm oil trees. When you look at cassava, we import gari, but we grow cassava. When you look at oil, we import oil, but we have the crude oil. So I think really our economy is in their state and needs every right-thinking Nigeria to look into it. And going back, let us also look at the FS. We expect the central bank to, because that is their core mandate to really stabilize the naira. If they don't do that, I wonder who would. And like we keep saying, we want a country where life would not just be useless for the citizens and hot unnecessarily.
I was actually asking you what we need to do to ensure we, get over this rise in inflation. Do you think that lifting a ban on importation of those essential items will, curb the inflation, or is it going to add to it? Because sometimes you get confused the kind of economy will run in this side of the world.
So unfortunately, the critical problem we are facing in Nigeria is sustainability of policy. In Nigeria, we usually have this policy over and somersault, where every government or the administration comes up, they abandon whatever initiative that was already existing and come up with a fresh initiative, only along the line to also abandon it and come up with another one. A single administration cannot even see through a policy. Now, lifting these bans has its own way. It's going to contribute, but it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that because when you look at the level of productivity of Nigerians, you would ask yourselves, how productive are Nigerians? And those, many industries are closing. Then the international industries are leaving the country because of harsh business environment for them. So these are the things really contributing to the inflation that we are having. And don't also forget that there are critical areas that should really slow down any rise in inflation of goods and services in the country. Insecurity is one of it. Benue State used to be prided as a state that produces food for the country, and that is why they are called food basket of the nation. Now the question is, currently, the Benue State farmers, where are they? I bet many of them are in the IDP camp. And of course, if you look
majority are dead.
Yes, majority are being killed on a daily basis. Nothing is being said about it, and we are moving our lives as if it is now a way of life. I refuse to accept and I refuse to admit that. Now, if you look at this critically, the question is, in economies, there is this supply and demand. When there is high supply, you see price comes down because there is availability of goods. But when there is scarcity, it has a way of increasing prices. And that is what we are suffering now. Even the little food, when they are coming down, some of them are unnecessarily overtaxed. When they are unnecessarily overtaxed, some of them are battling with bad road, which on the road sometimes they get damaged. 2 weeks ago, if I can remember, some trucks of tomato that came down from where it was produced was actually displayed that 90% of it got spoiled. So these are things contributing to this inflation rise. And for us to really get it right, we want Nigeria to really come up with a clear roadmap of development, devoid of selfish or personal interest. I don't know why we are talking about our National Assembly members trying to get a car of 163 million. The question is that our priority now as a country where we have high, not just citizens who are poor, people who are multidimensionally poor. That is when it comes to food, they cannot afford it. When it comes to healthcare, they cannot afford it. When it comes to education, they cannot afford it. When it comes to housing, they cannot afford it. In any angle you want to look at it, 133 million of us, out of how many Nigerians? 250 or thereabout million Nigerians. So it shows that majority of Nigerians are wallowing in poverty.
Okay, let's move on now. This issue of IPOB, of course, we saw what happened, was it last week, that they got this judgment that they are no terrorist organization, and I think that's a substantial amount of money that was awarded to Kanu. And now IPOB is asking the federal government to remove the tag of terrorist in their name.
But for me, first of all, I am a human being before being a Nigerian, and then from the Igbo race. And IPOB is an organization that has that Biafra ideology. And I, as an individual, I also have the Biafra ideology. We have our race, we have our roots, where we come from. And right from day one, even when the then formal president's administration tagged IPOB a terrorist group, we refused to admit it, and that was why we were happy with many foreign countries who also did not tag IPOB a terrorist group, because in as much as what IPOB and their process did lately in Southeast, the damages they have caused is highly despicable and unheard of. This is not what the Igbos are known for.
As if you are sure that the IPOB members
are
not infiltrators
when
that
it started,
are trying to create problems.
When it started, the IPOBs were using their names, saying that after all, they were the ones that even said sit at home, don't come out, otherwise. So even if at the long run, they were not the ones perpetrating it, but they gave that room for the evil ones to cash in on it and then begin to cause mayhem in the country. Looking at that, I think for IPOB to have even gone to court, of course I've been in the court since about this terrorist tag, and it is good that the court has said they are not a terrorist group. It is nothing new.
And do you see Nigeria removing that tag?
Well, it's going to be political. They have no option. It has come from the court.
It has come from the court. Who obeys court's rulings these days?
Well, the past administration, Muhammad Buhari's administration was known very, very clear to not obeying court rules. And then this current administration, we are still watching them, and we hope they would obey court rules. But the issues that we're having now is the fear of the government influencing court decision. That is where we have a problem. But if it is for them to obey court rule, I know they are disposing themselves to actually obey court rule. But it might take time. There might be challenges around it, but they would. The AGF was saying that they are looking at the judgment, and after they have studied the judgment, they are going to come up with a clear statement. We are going to wait for them to come up with their own statement. Then we compare their statements to the judgment of the court. But the thing is, the federal government must understand that freedom fighting is part of inalienable right of the citizens. If you are not confident with a people, you have the right to fight for your freedom.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's look at what is trending between the labor organization, that's NLC, with federal government. There has been a lot of issues coming from the federal to the state, especially that of the Imo state. And these days, some people labeled NLC toothless bulldog. You just talk and you don't do. And there have been a lot of instances where you think they will act and they did not act. And now they're having this issue with Imo State. What do you think is going on there?
Imo State has been a peculiar state. And by the way, I am from Imo State. And then Hope Uzodimma has not really had a smooth run right from after he was declared by the Supreme Court, starting from the tag that he had to his name, the Supreme Court appointed governor, which he is not really happy hearing. And for NLC, initially, when NLC started with their brickering, if I'm to use that word, we were really impressed. We don't want to have a nation where really every institution is at loggerheads with one another, really. But if you look at it sometimes, that is even at the time where we can get dividends of democracy, when they are not in good terms. A friend of mine would always tell me that in a particular state House of Assembly, when the honorable members are quiet and are not fighting, you should be afraid because a lot is happening. But when they are fighting, that means some people's interests are not being met. Now, coming back again to NLC, we want NLC to go beyond I mean, they should walk the talk. Starting from the removal of fuel subsidy with the hardship that was visited on that visited Nigerians, NLC made noise. We thought the government would listen to them. Instead of the money to come down, it increased, and it is still increasing. And we are expecting NLC to really hold the government strictly to account, because that is part of, there is a reason for creating every organization. And once that organization is not meeting up to its mandate, it is either they close it down or they go and reorganize themselves. So for NLC really and Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, because of the security challenges he faced when he came on board, he then wore this regalia of a general, of a dictator. He uses the stick approach. Everything that happens, he's using his sledgehammer. He's not even listening to anybody. And the Imo State citizens are not happy about it. When he talks, he prides himself as to have taken care of the welfare of workers. If really he has been taking care of the welfare of workers, then why is NLC coming up with all this embargo? I think what the government should really do is to sit down and listen to the labor union, because these people have given years of their service life to the government, and the governor just came on board 4 years ago. Under 4 years of an administration, what they have gotten for themselves would be massive and unthinkable compared to what people who have given 10 years, 20 years to 35 years of service just serving the government. I think NLC.
Okay, 1 minute, please.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead. What's your name?
Yes, I want to have a complaint concerning this program that you are presenting.
Okay. What is your name and where are you calling us from?
It's not for you alone, it's for everybody, it's for the general public.
What is your name and where are you calling us from?
Which other people like Priska Wampo, Noyo Mokoye, and Chidi Maurawa, would they normally show the papers on the screen of the television so that people who don't know what they are talking about, they can read through the papers on the screen.
Okay. Thank you.
So that you will equally be taking the same step.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And so most of the time that you are doing this program, you normally speak Igbo language. Well, not everybody that understands the language. There are not many teachers that are interested in watching the program.
Okay.
Are you getting me, please?
I am. Thank you.
So please, you have to take correction.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You didn't tell me your name and where you called from.
All right.
What is your name? Okay. Thank you. And let me quickly apologize that we had some little challenges displaying the papers while we were reading it out. And I think the issue has been corrected. So I don't know the name of the person that called. Sorry, it is not deliberate. Okay. Yeah, you were saying something, but before you conclude, please let us read out, for want of time, let us read out the remaining of the papers and then we'll start concluding. Is anybody still here? Okay, sorry. Okay, the Nation newspaper is our next paper, Nation newspaper. The banner headline, there's business obstacles to go. Tinubu assures investors. Nation newspaper, business obstacles to go. Tinubu assures investors, with a rider there, with Supreme Court verdict, no more distractions. President hosts Chairman Chancellor. Okay, I think that's all we're taking from there because other stories here, we have seen it before. Let's look at the Daily Trust. Daily Trust newspaper, pay rise. Federal government yet to pay 79.3 billion naira peculiar allowance 7 months after. Pay rise. Federal government yet to pay 79.3 billion naira peculiar allowance 7 months after. With some riders there, Jason ultimatum ends tomorrow. NLC alleges lack of capacity to manage wages. And then supplementary budget stores payments in agencies. Finance Ministry mum over the whole issue. Okay. Many other things coming from here. UN raises alarm as food stores ransacked in Gaza. And as about what is going on in Gaza between the Israelis and the Hamas. Bandits kill only teacher in Kaduna community. Wow. Federal government plans reabsorption of retired military officers. All these are many more. A story you will find from the front page of the Daily Trust. Okay, let's move on. Guardian newspaper. Why probe of 11.3 trillion naira refineries maintenance cost will end futile. Why probe of 11.3 trillion naira refineries maintenance cost will end futile. That is the banner headline coming from the Guardian newspaper. Another story coming from there says energy challenges undermine Nigeria's debt. Tinubu admits the imperative of a good road infrastructure. And the last paper this morning is the Tribune. Nigerian Tribune is our last paper this morning, and the banner headline there says 15-point MOU implementation. NLC threatens boycott of meeting with federal government. And down here, I directed Kyari Malami to fight $15 billion payment to PI and ID. That's coming from Buhari. Nadeko to Tinubu implements APC El-Rufai recommendations on restructuring and power devolution place. And then boats with over 80 passengers capsizes in Taraba. Bad news everywhere you go. Okay, that's all. That's all coming from here. Let's we have talked about the labor issues as that flexing muscles with federal government and Imo State government. That's a story I'm looking for that I've not seen about Seraphs. Okay, I think it's here. Seraphs tax INEC on reforms to secure Nigeria's voting rights. Yes. Let's talk about this because most times we have seen the Seraphs has said this and that, and they've even gone to court in several occasions. And some people are asking, what actually have they been able to achieve for this nation as an organization?
Well, I'm not the spokesman of Serap really, and I think Serap would have their success stories, and being a CSO, a civil society organization, shows that they use the instrumentality of the law and trying to uphold the constitution to engage. But clearly looking at it, one thing I would say Serap always tries to achieve is they have their own way of raising awareness, the awareness level over certain issues that are happening in the country becomes increased. When they tell you that if the government of the day, both at the federal or any of the subnational levels, fail to implement a particular policy and that they are going to sue the government on that policy. The newspaper, the National Dailies carries that news, and then those who visit or who have access to these dailies get to know about it. Sometimes, of course, Nigeria, there are lots of issues going on that we are all busy, almost like busy doing nothing, and with a lot of information that we just need to really imbibe. So with Serap, they have their own way of really bringing some of those issues to the front burner. That is what I will give to them. Also, some of these cases they take to the court, there are rulings to read. They help to set precedents for other legal battle, so that when the citizens need to have their rights enforced, they can actually refer to some of those rulings that have been made, and then they use it. Now, looking at it, I think Nigeria, we should really try to go beyond reforms, in as much as reform is good. We thought with the 2022 electoral at Nigeria had arrived. Then when you call INEC will tell you this is a game changer, this is a wonderful innovation, this is that. But you and I understand, and then every minute in Nigeria who wants to be sincere to themselves, that this is one of the worst elections that we have had. For us, the civil society actors, and then those who engage community members, we just want to imagine how it would sound going back to the same communities, people that we engage, talking to them, telling them, come out and vote, your vote is going to count. Your vote is your voice. After all those grammars and encouragement.
And you think their vote didn't count?
Obviously, it did not count, a personal opinion, and then from what we saw in the field.
Okay.
But the laws, people can make laws and then have their rulings and their positions on it. But what we saw on the field, we would say that the vote did not count. How would the vote count when what we saw at the polling unit, and then when you want to compare it with the higher level collation, it does not really match. And when you want to challenge it, they don't want to look at what happened at the polling unit. They are looking at the evidence before them, which is whatever it is that you have done. And if you are making a noise, they then say you are an agent of distraction. But the citizens know who they voted for. So for me, I am joining Sarah that Nigerians, we should begin to look at the spirit of our law beyond, because the politicians would always want to look at loopholes that they would use to exploit the system. The citizens must come together to say enough is enough. Okay. Whoever that we are voting for at any election must be the person that, whoever the citizens are going for must be the person that should win, and not why the citizens have their plans, then those who are privileged to be in certain positions have contrary plans. And unfortunately, it seems that their contrary plans always seem to prevail, and it's uncalled for and not good for the development of our country and the citizens therein.
Okay. Just yesterday we heard about this explosion in the Rivers State of Assembly, explosion rocks Rivers House of Assembly complex. That's the reason in the Nation newspaper. Okay, and then what exactly is going on there? Okay, the story I read from Twitter was saying that there's this threat of impeachment on the governor, the new governor of Rivers State, and then the next day, explosion rocked the State Assembly. Have you heard that story?
Yeah. So you see, that is why when we talk about impunity and rule of law not having its state in the country, this is just exactly what we are talking about. People try to do things without recourse for whatever they feel would happen. If that we are really in a system where there are consequences to actions, some of these things will not really be happening. In more developed countries, there are things that don't happen. And the question is, must our politicians, our representatives, really die in office? That is one question. Another question is, are they the only ones made for Nigeria? So when we really bring up this whole conversation and find out that for you to live a fulfilled life, for you to live a life of impact, impacting both in your family, yourself, and the citizens therein, you must not necessarily be a political actor. And that is why we are saying liberalize the society, make it open, really. I don't know why it is only who knows that people, I am, all sorts of them when they can with certain positions. It's uncalled for. If I can, as a lecturer, live a comfortable life, do what I need to do, then why should I say I want to become a politician? So because of the desperation, they know that once they are impeached, now their own is done. And unfortunately, the system in Nigeria is made like it is only when you are in power that you are relevant. Okay. Once you leave power, people forget you, and you now see that you are really whole and empty. Absolutely. And that is why they can go extra miles to really burn down the country, because they still want to maintain that power.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Thank you, Samuel Ololo, our public affairs analyst. I thank you very much for coming this morning to help us look at what the papers are saying. And it does appear we're going to draw the curtain here to make room for other programs to have slated for your viewing pleasure this morning. And this morning, Monday morning, seems to be very loaded. So you just stand by and see how it goes. My name is Sichama. God bless you.